saglit silang pumasok sa aking isipan.
And here I am, reading all of them for the first time.
Hindi ko matawagan ang number ni Emma. Galit pa rin yata.
Sometimes the raging black ocean calms down for a minute and I can see the sky.
She grabs wine from the freezer. The bottle is broken.
Lights soar across the dark, and the colors dance in the sky.
The clicker also worked well. I've always preferred the retractable ones over capped pens.
We live our lives navigating through space with our bodies, trying to make sense of the world that will always somehow be both too big and too small. Although we indeed will never truly know life beyond how we have acquainted ourselves with it individually, it's always nice to come close to experiencing it through others' eyes with how they tell their stories.
Good evening, everyone. We are the grade 7, 8, and 9 creative writing students from the Philippine High School for the Arts, a specialized public high school that offers art-focused education in Mount Makiling, Los Baños, Laguna. We are a part of Kuwit, the collective of 𝘃𝗶𝘁 students who major in creative writing, and our curriculum includes fiction, poetry, writing for theater and film, graphic literature, essay, and cultural studies.
This year's showcase by grades 7 to 9 of Kuwait features the various works they completed over the 2-year quarantine. As the notion of the new norm claims itself a place within our society, we try to pinpoint what makes up the structure of the home and what is familiar as we continue to bring elements of the outside world in.
The following collection of works aims to explore the correlation between the self and the space it inhabits, vis-a-vis family, physical stagnance, loss, and uncertainty, as teenagers and adolescents growing into adulthood. We wish everyone well, and we hope you are warm and comfortable as we offer you a glimpse into the frames, spaces, and other things we call home.
The seat. You do not know what makes the seat a seat, for it is more of a swing. But the seat does not move in a curved angle, rather it just slides. It isn't just a sliding chair, nor a rocking chair, but both instead. The seat slides back and forth as your 2 feet stay in a platform, keeping you grounded. It's a little dizzying. The seat is made out of metal. It is out in the open, and it looks pretty. It reminds you of the many seats that star in movies, stay in museums, or side with the government. You think of a compliment, maybe strike a conversation, ask about the weather, but the seat makes loud creaking noises, moving back and forth without a word. So you watch it instead. The seat isn't just one chair, but 2 chairs. Yet you can't insist whether the seat is one big seat or 2, since the chairs are connected. You think it's unique, fancy even. A table is attached between the 2 chairs. Is this a desk? A friend could use this as a workspace. But there is no one around. The seat is nothing but a moving bench. The seat is creaking. Perhaps it is rather annoyed. You're not a seatologist. Seats don't want to be judged by little humans who take up their space. But you could also acknowledge how it is a seat, that it was made for people to sit on. After all, they weren't created just so they could creak all day. Or maybe that sounds a little condescending. Maybe at some point, the seat could even frame you for harassment if you stayed on it for longer. So you stand up. Perhaps you shouldn't judge a seat by its image. You try reading its label sticker, which has some info about itself, but it seems a bit too personal. It was raining. The seat was wet. You try to offer the seat your jacket, but the seat continues to slide back and forth, creaking some more irritable sounds. After all, the seat is already bad-tempered. It seems rude of you to accompany a seat without permission. You pet the handle of the seat with courtesy and leave it in the rain.
There are many ways to recall where one was once were. For instance, as I was biking today, I realized the sea left its imprints on my skin. It was most prominent when I fell off the bike and scraped my knee. I was navigating the street far from ours when the wheels swerved on a puddle, the bruise a purple ripple, the epidermis the shape waves make when they rush back to the sea. When I fell off the bike, I fell on all fours, but it didn't feel like I fell at all. Instead, it was as if I came from crawling, palms flat on cement for the first time in a while. It felt foreign to stand, but I did so anyway, because it would be weird not to, especially with the other people sitting and standing around. There was blood, of course, and dirt, and something white that I can't tell whether pus or peeled skin. Looking at the bruise, I realized it'll scar, and that when it does, some lines can no longer be traced. So many patches of my skin have been peeled off lately, thanks to dehydration and the dishwashing soap that's been causing my fingers to flake from dryness and irritation. And me, with my fixation on scratching and scraping surfaces when there's nothing behind it, which is, in a sense, watching the text cursor type and backspace again and again, hoping for the words to do what it does without knowing how to make it do so, but I digress. With the amount of lines born from skin cracking and callousing, one might imagine my hand almost similar to a fin. My very knuckles a memory of another world, though this thought might be inspired after seeing a tetrapod from my science book. There's the thing too with my allergy and my preauricular sinuses, where when my colds get really worse, a hole on my outer ears leak and dry off, clogging the sinus and causing a swelling. A fun facts page from somewhere once told me that it's said to appear in 0.1% to 0.9% of Europeans, 2.5% of Taiwanese people, and 10% of African people, although who knows how credible that site is. Anyway, when it happens, one has to scrape off or peel the dried liquid and press on the swelling to squeeze the remaining liquids out. Like how my elementary teacher's goldfish contracted and squirmed and squeezed out the small thing that was poking from under his gills. As annoying as these are, they bring me back the sea. The cracking of the surface reminiscent of scales glimmering from the reflection of light underwater. All mothers once carried in their womb a fish. My mother's been whining about wanting to go back to the beach lately. How our tan lines, whose shadowed intersecting paths remind me those of a map's, faded, and how our skin tones are now paler than the usual golden, toasty brown it is during summer onwards. If it weren't for the pandemic, I imagine she would have driven to the nearest beach straight to the waters, the bubbles enveloping her the same way it does to the plates and mugs when I do the dishes. And then she would have taken a deep breath and smiled.
Together. There's so much in my body, yet I cannot write a single piece about one part. There's so much strain, so much shit, so much everything. I'm afraid to single a part out. You have the hand on the left. There's so much on that one hand on itself, even underneath its skin. With the hand you could feel everything. The small dips on the ends of each bone, the bumps on each knuckles, the nerves and veins intertwining with each press. The fingers were another story. 3 stood in a long, powerful stance, their backs unable to arch, making each individual finger looked taller than the average. The middle fingers couldn't even come halfway. The middles were useless, you see. They were just there. They sit. They don't even have bones. They are nothing but clumps of muscles and skin, sucking on the blood of the others and leeching off their bodies. They remind me of those parasites that I saw on TV once. The parasite was said to bite off a piece of the victim's body in a manner so painless that the host never notices. They will then attach themselves to the body and act as the certain part for as long as the victim lives. The victim continues its life without ever knowing it hunts, feeds, and mates without ever feeling the blood being sucked away. It only notices the parasite once its children have taken over for their parents. It eats the host from the inside out. It feeds, destroys, and moves on to the next organ. It does not stop until the host's pathetic body flails around, gasping for air. Eventually, the host dies, with its last thing seeing a child of the parasite, slowly eating away and creating a hole inside its eyes. Maybe that's what the two fingers do. Maybe one day, Mother had eaten something that contained the parasite. Maybe she had caught it in one of her mountain hikes. She grabs a small fruit from a random bush, not realizing the small wiggling creature trying to crawl out of it. She swallows the fruit and parasite whole. It swims down her throat and tries to eat away on the bits of food that have been stuck rotting. It explores down and eventually resides in her intestines. Maybe it stayed in her small intestines for a little while. It builds a nest to rest on until a large cup of soda destroys its home. The creature cries in distress at the sight. It spends weeks trying to survive and eat away at whatever it could find. Sooner or later, it finds me. It sees my fingers tightly grasping the cord, clumps of semi-digested food staining my fingers. Mother said I had always been a messy eater. Maybe it had smelled the food and chose its next victim, out of revenge or simple hunger. It swims and latches onto my middle fingers. It eats away and feasts on every inch of meat and bone it could chomp on. Once it's full, it takes its place between my fingers, satisfied. Maybe that's what it's still doing, sucking away and leeching off my hand. It continues to drain me even if it's satisfied. And maybe despite all of this, it finds a mate and is now bearing its eggs within my system. Maybe the eggs will hatch and swim onto my child next. This time, it eats away from the top.
Your carved skin from my collection called Home Bodies. My teeth are not of a cat or a dog, and my bite does not leave 2 marks. Do not go for the neck. I do not wish to kill you, but I will leave these carvings on your skin of flowers and patterns, a small leaflet on your hand, and a jasmine flower on your shoulder. Your back will be my canvas of swirls and motifs. Lilies, ferns, a tulip at the bottom and a rose at the top, then a small petal in the middle of your chest. I will tend to them all with a kiss.
Paborito ko ang uyayi. Sa tuwing umuwi ako sa bahay, doon ako unang naglalagi. Payapa sa duyan. Wala kang maririnig na kahit na anong nakakabinging ingay. Maliban na lamang kung may mga bubuyog na nag-aaway o kaya mga asong nagtatahulan sa kapitbahay. Maliban doon, wala na. Tanging kaluskusan ng mga dahon lamang ang tunog na hahaplos sa kalooban ng iyong tainga. Payapa ang duyan. Kontrolado ko ang bawat galaw at saliw nito. Minsan mabilis o makupad. Mataas ang buwelo o kaya mababa. Minsan nga pati paggewang-gewang pa. Minsan gawa sa tali o kaya naman parang buklod. Minsan nga gulong. Pinagpalitan sa ambulansya. Driver kasi nun si Lolo kaya maraming reserba. Depende kung gusto mo ba yung uupuan, yung paglalaruan, o yung hihigaan. Dito ako kalong ni tita habang ginaganutan ni Lola. Duyan.
Kagabi, kumain lang ako ng pandesal na may keso para sa hapunan dahil tinamad na akong magluto. 5 oras lang yata ako nakatulog. Sa umaga, tumawag na naman sa akin si Mama. Tinatanong kung kailan daw ba ako mag-aasawa. Hindi na raw ako bumabata pa. Naunaan pa raw ako ng babae kong kapatid na nakatira na ngayon sa Laguna. Gusto kong matulog. Nakalimutan kong may date pala kami ni Emma ngayon. Natulog ako buong maghapon. Hindi na tuloy ako inantok pa sa gabi. Kagabi, kumain lang ako ng pandesal na may keso para sa hapunan dahil tinamad na naman akong magluto. Hindi ko matawagan ang number ni Emma. Galit pa rin yata. Sa umaga, tumawag na naman sa akin si Mama. Tinatanong kung kailan daw ako mag-aasawa. Inantok na naman ako pero uminom lang ako ng kape at lumabas ng apartment. Bumili ako ng sampagita. Paborito ni Emma yung amoy ng sampagita. Sa hapon, pumunta ako sa apartment niya. Tinanggap niya yung sampagita. Hindi kami nag-usap. Niyakap niya lang ako pabalik. Kagabi, kumain lang ako ng pandesal para sa hapunan. Nakalimutan ko yung keso. Sa umaga, tumawag na naman sa akin si Mama. Mag-asawa na nga raw ako. Tinanong niya kung kamusta si Emma. Sabi ko okay lang. Sa hapon, gusto ni Emma manood kami ng bagong pelikula malapit sa Araneta. Hindi naman ako pwede kasi hindi ko pa natatapos yung librong sinusulat ko. Malapit na. Sa gabi, natulog si Emma sa apartment ko. Kagabi, hindi ko maalala kung ano yung kinain ko para sa hapunan. Manok yata, o pandesal na naman. Ewan, ubos na yung keso. Kailangan kong dumaan sa supermarket mamaya para bumili ng bago. Sa umaga, tumawag si Mama. Papakasalan ko raw ba si Emma? Ma, hindi ko nga alam. Sa hapon, nagpatuloy ako sa pagsulat ng libro. Dumating si Emma sa apartment. Tumingin siya sa akin. Binaba ko ang laptop ko. Niyakap niya ako. Hinalikan ko siya. Sa gabi, umalis siya at natulog sa sarili niyang apartment. Kagabi, kumain lang ako ng pandesal para sa hapunan. Sa umaga, hindi tumawag si Mama. Yung kapatid ko ang tumawag. Kailan nga raw ba ako mag-aasawa? Pinapatanong daw ni Mama. Teka, bibili muna ako ng keso. Nakalimutan ko palang bilhin yun kahapon. Pinaba ko yung tawag. Sa hapon, bumili ako ng keso. Sa gabi, hindi ako nakatulog. Kagabi, pandesal na may keso na naman ang hapunan ko dahil tinamad talaga akong magluto. Hindi na tumawag si Mama. Hindi ko pinakasalan si Emma pero natapos ko na yung librong sinusulat ko. Sa hapon, pinadalhan ko si Mama ng libro. Sa gabi, natulog ako nang bukas ang ilaw sa kusina.
Naka-record eh. The calm in the storm. This ship isn't so bad. I don't know why I called it a ship. It's small and only comes with one oar. But that's fine. At least it's more than a few pieces of timber tied together. And so far, it hasn't ever fallen apart in a storm. Sometimes the raging black ocean calms down for a minute and I can see the sky. On those rare days, I like to look for other people and wave at them. Most of them have these big, beautiful ships that could carry loads of goods from one port to another. I wonder what that would be like. I've never actually traveled to another port. It gets rough. I venture out, and just as I get my hopes up, the storm finds me. I've gotten used to it. The first time I got caught in one, I prayed to every god out there to come and save me. Help came, and I was grateful, but it was so embarrassing. It felt terrible, needing to climb aboard someone else's ship. I felt useless. Now, whenever I get caught in bad weather, I stop calling out. I just sit there with my eyes closed. It's cold and it makes me numb. I'd wait until I was in the eye before I let myself breathe. It was so quiet. I could see the sky.
It's been around 5 minutes since she walked in. The cold air of the room rushes out the door. As she creeps ever closer and my fingers tighten, everything goes silent until I hear her breath. Once I breathe out, it'll all be over. All my adventures, all my experiences. Once I'm found out, she'll take it all away. But as she walks away and the door sings closed, once the night's prime is once again achieved, lights soar across the dark and the colors dance in the sky. But as the party goes on, there she stands, hidden in the dark, not mad, just disappointed.
I ate today. I put today on a plate and ate it. I didn't like it. It tasted like garbage. On my tongue, it felt like if you took the texture of cow shit and maybe dog shit, and in a futile attempt to get rid of the smell, you sprayed it with alcohol. But no, it was just that. Cow shit, dog shit, and that obnoxious sting you get in your nose when you get too close to rubbing alcohol. Well, maybe I over-exaggerated, but today just keeps coming, you know? It's so hard to keep track of everything actually going on when it all keeps coming and going, and I hate that I can't make it stop, so I might as well just assume the worst, right? But I'm thinking, if I just eat it all up, it will all go away, and I won't have to think about it ever again. But I ate today, so today doesn't exist anymore, except for inside my stomach, and the stomach acid should eat it all up and turn it back into shit, and I won't have to think about it ever again. Or maybe I should puke it out. Show it who's boss, right? I get to see it in all its disgusting little chunks, remnants of once todays, float and sink into the toilet water, and I get to wave it bye-bye when I flush it down. Kidding. I can't force myself to puke the grace of God out. The walls are thin, and Mom can see my silhouette through the bathroom door. She'll come banging at it and ask me if I'm okay, if I feel sick, and I could easily just lie and tell her that I do feel sick and I'm not doing it on purpose, that today tastes normal and normal was just having a bad day. That's what I should have done when she saw the scars on my arm that I, get this, made with my fingernails. Well, when my dad saw them, I told him I just wrote them on with pencil, but I guess neither he nor Mom were having any of it, so I'm not puking today out. Why did I feel happy when my classmates told me they thought I was holding a knife? I know damn well I fucking wasn't. I ran away from the home ec lab, and I ran to the college campus, and I ran to the bathrooms. I ran, and I don't know if I was sweating or crying. That didn't happen today, but it was some other today that tasted salty. I don't know if it was because of the sweat, the tears, or the fries with mayo that my classmates offered me in the hallway. God, fuck, why am I still hungry? Why do I feel my stomach wringing itself in pain? I ate so much today, and I ate so much of today. I shouldn't be hungry, and I shouldn't want to eat. I didn't eat the fries that today, and I didn't hold a knife. I dropped it after I tried to cut the bread, and I didn't eat the bread either, so it just tasted salty. So it just tasted like the way screams do when they echo around an empty classroom, except the room wasn't even empty. There were at least 40 other people, 40 other classmates who today only taste like Danish cheese that I tried to convince myself tasted good, and then didn't know what to do with, so I left it in the fridge to mold, and when it did, I threw it away. It was a waste of money, at least. I ate today because I had nothing else to do. That's a lie. I have so much to do. But I tell myself I'm not afraid of any deadline. Down a bottle of oil and light yourself on fire. So I didn't want to be reduced to ash. It's just maybe then you could burn up. I don't know if he is me or just some character I'm writing on a bit of whatever how I want to make sense of up and sucking then again. If I was writing me, I wouldn't be eating. I wouldn't be eating how much of whatever today is that I spill out and want to eat. And I can't so many eating. There's no space for eating and rest. I don't do anything other than how today tastes. And today tastes like cotton, and I don't know whether it's cotton like pillow stuffing, or cotton like the type you wipe on a scraped knee with betadine, or cotton like cotton candy. Sweet, sweet cotton candy. I heard that when you exercise, you breathe all the weight out, so maybe I should start breaking out. But what if working out just turns all signs of today into muscle, and I just end up bigger than I already am? I thought that if I ate today up, I could get rid of it, and I could exist less, and I could be small, and I could be cute, but I'm groping at flabs of skin that have grown tenfold since the last time I looked in the mirror, and with every second my greasy fingertips dig into each oversized roll of fat, I feel it growing bigger and bigger. I could cry about it, but even more salt would make me feel sick. With all the gross and salty stuff I've shoved down my throat, I could really do with something sweet. I want cookies, and candy, and milkshakes, and iced tea with honey. I want to slather whipped cream on my hand and slurp it up. I want so much of it that if I end up chewing my hand off with it, I won't notice. It will taste sweet, and the red will mix with the white, and I'll think it looks like something strawberry flavored. If I taste a little bit of blood, and if my teeth can't grind down the bone, I can always wash it down with chocolate milk and maybe cereal. All this wishful thinking, and yet today doesn't taste anything like that. And yet I can't stop eating today. I can't go to yesterday. I ate it when it was today, and I don't remember where tomorrow went. What do I have to do to get rid of today and all the other todays for real?
The Perfect Pen by the Library. 2 weeks ago, I found a pen on the way to the school library. I picked it up for it looked new, but the ink was half empty already and there was no price tag anymore. It was in perfect condition, no cracks or scratches. There wasn't even a trace of the price sticker, meaning that the owner was careful about removing it. The clicker also worked well. I've always preferred the retractable ones over capped pens. 1. Math homework. I entered the library to finish my math homework as it was due the next day. I grabbed my worksheet and tested the ink of my new pen on the bottom left corner of the paper. It worked really well. It was gel-based, yet it glided smoothly across the paper. I'm never giving this back to the owner, I thought. I didn't even know who the owner was in the first place, but I feel like it was a lady's pen just because the top wasn't chewed up. Find the value of x, the instructions stated. I isolate x and proceeded to computing what was left on the other side of the equal sign. Finally, I got x is equal to 1. I substitute 1 to the x's on the given problem to check my answer. It was correct, thanks to Steve for tutoring me every time we used to eat lunch together at the cafeteria. 2. Logbook. Flash forward to 1 week later when I was excused in class by Ma'am Garcia, our guidance counselor. I remember entering her office fidgeting with that pen out of nervousness. She told me that I was caught holding hands with a boy around the campus, but they were not sure whether it was Samuel, Steve, or Jason who was with me. I confessed who I was with right away. I also promised that it would never happen again. He is with Joanne now anyway. I then asked her if she was going to talk to him about it. She said she didn't want to make a bigger deal out of the issue. On my way out, she made me sign her logbook. The pen was more pigmented, if not as good as before, even if the ink was nearing the tip. Beside my signature were my name and the words, "First offense, public display of affection." I continued to click the pen repeatedly as I walked back to my classroom. 3. Logbook again. Today I just got off my last class, the pen clipped to my blouse. The ink is about half an inch from the tip now, but it still produces that jet black color when you write with it. The pigment hasn't turned gray yet, unlike other pens I've used. The previous owner of this must have flawless handwriting or maybe a fascinating stationery collection. I figured I'd just wait for the ink to run out and look for a refill from the bookstore since there's no way to find out who used to have it. There's way too many students who enter the library. I might never know whose pocket it fell off of. As I walk to the library to return a book, I see Joanne holding hands with a man. I think she's with Samuel or Steve or Jason. I rushed to Ma'am Garcia's office to report what I saw. She just told me to call Joanne and let her in the office. I returned to the guidance counselor with Joanne, and as expected, Ma'am Garcia talks to her for a few minutes and makes her sign the logbook. She doesn't have a pen, so she asks if I have one with me. I nod and reach for the pen on my blouse. Then I try to look for it in my pocket, and then my bag. I exit the office and follow the path I took from the library to Ma'am Garcia. I see a pen near the men's comfort room, but it is full of scratches and it is not the retractable kind. It looks kind of gross, so I would naturally not pick it up. I see another pen near the science lab, a purple sparkly one. Too girly. There's also a golden fountain pen close to the chapel. Too fancy. I don't see the simple black pen I am looking for. I think I just lost what could have been the perfect pen, and there's no way I could replace it.
That night at the park, I shifted a little bit. I didn't think I'd ever be in this position, as I was always known as the good kid, but here I was, sitting on the hood of a worn-out car, staring up at the stars. They speckled across the dark sky. They were certainly beautiful, but not as amazing as the gal sitting next to me. You see, stars might look different up close, but from where I was in the universe, it was as if someone took a dot and copy and pasted it across the endless void. Marie was so different from any other person I'd ever met. She took a drag from her lit cigarette, waiting a moment before letting out a long exhale. She then turned to me with a soft smirk on her face. "So, how was it?" "Well, I tried to appear as casual as possible, but my hands were becoming sweaty as she studied me with her almond-shaped eyes. My family had a get-together of sorts. We went to the beach, stayed for a bit. Then we went home. Had a bit of a nasty sunburn after that." She didn't say anything and merely nodded, opening up a new beer bottle. I hate that stuff, but who am I to judge? How was I supposed to take that? I cleared my throat, folding my hands in my lap. "And you?" "What about me?" "You know what." I didn't understand why we were acting so reserved. It must have been the fact that we were out so late, or the fact that we could have gotten caught. We weren't anywhere private, after all. The car was just parked outside the playground where my sisters went every Saturday afternoon. I stayed at home, played some games, listened to new music, slept in a lot. What else? We sat in silence for a while, wondering what to say next. Ever written a love letter for someone?" I spoke up, making her snort and begin to chortle. Her laughter filled the dead silence of the night. "Never in a million years." She slid down to the ground and held her hand out for me to grab. "Come on, I'll take you home."
Hi, hello, and thank you so much for watching the second and last half of Frames, Spaces, and Other Things We Call Home. We hope you enjoyed our comfy little showcase as our school year comes to a close. The support means a whole lot to us. Once again, a big thank you, and good night.